That's Yucca elata, quite rare in the Southwest, growing beautifully in our sandhills. It's gorgeous red flower. And then Lithospermum caroliniense from the coastal plain, Carolina puccoon. Here's that red shrub, one of them, Calamintha coccinea, Chondrodina coccinea. Beautiful. Never water these plants. We don't water the sandhills. They only get what Mother Nature provides. And the neat thing about duplicating a sandhill, you'll find it very, very rewarding, because sand, if you've ever walked on sand that hasn't been walked on in a long time, it develops this crust over it. And when you step on it, you break that crust, and that's when erosion starts. So that's why they don't want you walking on sand dunes, just in case you didn't know. And what's interesting, when it has that crust on it, when wild weeds, most of the weeds that we battle in the garden are Eurasian. There's only 2 or 3 of them that are problem weeds for us that are actually native. They were all brought over and introduced to this country and have gone rampant. When we have open areas like along the river, they keep it grass. They won't let the forest grow back. What is up with that? If the forest grows back, the European dandelions and the other weeds and the what's the one that's coming up now? That's it, yeah. They can't grow in the shade. They will not make it. So the forest will keep your weeds out. So when the weeds blow in, they hit that sandy crust and they just keep blowing until they go off the sand. So they don't germinate in the sandhills, which is sweet from a weeding perspective. The sand is much more moist. You think it would be dry, but it's much more moist than any other soil unless you're in a floodplain. When it is July, August, and it's dry and hot, the first 2 inches are very dry, which are important for a lot of plants' root systems to stay moist below and dry at the crown where the roots and the growth separate, stop, damp off. What happens when you get down about 2 inches, the sand, because of its facetedness shape, having all these sharp edges, flat areas, it bonds and holds water better than the small clay particles. And so even after 4 weeks of no rain, I can dig down in the sand 2.5 inches, and the sand is wet, it's damp. So that's another thing. It's a misnomer that sand is dry. We've got 35, roughly, species of plants. And that certainly, this is looking from the south end of the property over to the neighbor's property. That's what our landscape looked like 5 years ago. But isn't that much more appealing and more attractive than what's over there? Look in the background. I don't have cattle. What do I need a pasture for? See there, a little exciting, no more mowing, noise pollution. Just different views into the garden. And it's fun to take a glass of wine, walk through the garden, especially in the summer, no clothes on, nobody can see you, you're with nature, you're having fun, sit down on the rock, you and the wife, talk, have a good time, you and your mate. And just having a great time talking and enjoying nature. You can wear clothes, it's optional. Another view, I think that's a duplicate view. Other views. But it's that was all lawn. Just showing different growths. Getting into the woodland garden. Leaves, I described that. Leaves are used to actually, as a mulch, a weed barrier. Weeds will germinate when there's bare soil, sunlight, seed, and rain. Well, you can't control the rain. You can't control the seeds blowing in. You can't control sunlight, but you can control bare soil. If you cover your soil with mulch or leaves, you cut down weeding by 90%. And the leaves do the great job. In our woodland garden, we have very few weeds. But, because we don't pick up the leaves. Where before, the previous owner bag it all up, set it on the corner to go to the landfill, and they're throwing fertilizer away. It's just crazy. They're throwing their best friend away. But with a natural appeal, how much time we got? 10 minutes. Yell at. Where limbs fall, we leave them lying. All we do is cut them where they cross the trail so people can still walk through. And this was all grassy lawn looking out to the highway from the very first shot. Here we have toxic lawn no more. Pleasant, chemical-free, native wildflower meadow where it used to be lawn. Attracting butterflies. Nice, quaint, small. You see the hemlock. There's the driveway. The first picture taken in was all lawn. There were bags of mulch sitting over here. And it's gone. We incorporate, here's one of the huge, this stump is 4 foot wide. It's a huge stump, and birds have used it over and over. There's several holes in these stumps where the birds have nested in it. And this is just old pine lighter knot, whatever else. There's like 15 names for this stuff. Lighter knot. And they make great fixtures in the landscape because they do not break down. Now, if you catch it on fire, it's a different story. You can't hardly put it out. But, excuse me. But they work, and they look like the garden's been there forever. If you do the rocks properly and you put the logs in your landscape, it looks like it was there the whole time, that you didn't do it. And my whole thing was to make it look like we moved into this forest, not that we created it. We're just aiding nature. We incorporated our well house with an old country style, early settler outhouse slogan. You don't know how many customers have wanted to use it. And I said, please don't. That's my drinking water. And just think about it. Also, I made it much taller since it's out and away from the house, and I keep tools in there. Some of my garden tools. And it's storage, because the well only eats up about 1/4 of the space inside there. And if it pours down rain on us, the overhangs are 3 foot away from the house and sharply down. They just clear my head, so you walk under them, and you're out of the rain when you're standing up against the well house. It's good for customers as well. This is, you guys know magnolia? This is Magnolia acuminata. I mentioned that one earlier, the green cucumber magnolia from the mountains. This is the one that grows in the Piedmont. It's Magnolia acuminata, variety subcordata. It's the yellow flowering cucumber magnolia, which is being decimated in the developments in the Piedmont. There's only about 15 known populations in the Piedmont. A stunning plant, the parent of some of the more commonly marketed yellow deciduous magnolias. This was the breeding parent. And it's native right here in the Piedmont. March of 09, little Quercus falcata trunk with the lichens on it, which is cool. Cacti, Silene, Caroliniana, Viola pedata, wild pink, birdfoot violet, and Phloxamina, hairy phlox, or beautiful phlox. And there it is, 2010 April, same slide. Penstemons have moved in by sea. Look at them. Penstemon levigatus. Opuntia species, cacti, they keep the trespassers out. That's one thing I've learned about having a retail establishment. You put evil plants on the edge of your garden, and people won't step off the trails. Keep your feet on the gravel. I don't know, I had a sign up that said, and my marketing friend told me to take it down. I had a sign up that said, no garden trespassing. Violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. It was right there in the parking lot. And guys are the worst. They'll get out and they'll march like they're on a journey straight through the garden, ignoring all the trails. Women will go around and they'll pull your flowers and come up to the store and go, what is this? Oh, that was only my federally endangered only flower of the year plant. Thank you very much. Respect people's gardens when you go to visit their gardens. They appreciate that. Everybody does. Nobody wants you stepping in their flower bed unless, when I go to anybody's flower bed, I say, is it okay if I step here? Because I want to get a closer photograph or whatever. I say, or can you lead the way and I'll follow your footsteps? Because the gardener knows where the plants are at. The visitor does not. So don't venture off the trails or off the lawn. That's just a little helpful hint. Here's more natural gardening. I was literally drinking wine when I planted all this. It's not in any order that I think is best. I plant plants where I think they'll grow best instead of where I think they look best. That's maintenance. Maintenance-free gardening. Regardless of your viewpoint, whatever your dream, big or small, you can do this and preserve the natives to your area for future generations to admire and emulate. There's another shot of the garden. Here's some choice jewels that we have found in the wild and are cultivating. Same plant, totally different genetics. Wild rain lily that's native here, Zephyranthes adamasca. This one, very narrow petals, long, short, fat, stubby, overlapping petals. Same population. Iris hexagona, the darkest, most brilliant purple. That picture may have been altered when I was buzzed. But Iris hexagona is the Dixie iris from the coastal plain. N3 St. Mary's purple, the guy that found it asked me to name it after that because that's where it came from. So we named it St. Mary's purple. It's the darkest, richest color Iris hexagona we've ever seen. Phlox subulata crossed with nivalis. So you have the northern subulata and the Confederate or Dixie thrift. There's two different populations. We have the Dixie thrift over there. Crossed and made this Millstream Jupiter up in Pennsylvania, I believe. Erythronium rostratum, the only trout lily that has a flower facing up. The rest of them are pendulous. Salvia urticifolia, an overlooked plant, drought tolerant as any plant you've ever seen. Never needs water and blooms in full flower right now. It's just stunning, stunning, about 18 to 24 inches tall. This is the darkest form we've ever seen. I got it in Coweta County. Full sun, part shade, hardwood hillsides, hickory oak hillsides, dry rocky hillsides. Iris verna, spring iris, a beautiful little dwarf miniature species. Floxamina, rarely sold. I don't have any today, but we have it at the nursery. A beautiful little small clump-forming species that reseeds freely, native to our hardwood hillsides. Viola pedata, a vibrant color form. Cypripedium kentuckiense. Most people know the yellow lady slipper or the pink lady slipper. This is the Kentucky yellow lady slipper. We had a gift of that from Mount Cuba. We trade a lot of plants with Mount Cuba up in Maryland, back and forth. And here's the largest native iris, is Iris gigantoceruleum, another beautiful form of Viola pedata we're working with to get the numbers up. And here's the stark difference a little effort and interest can make in bringing nature home by creating your own personal native park. That's exactly what our property looked like, and this is what it looks like now. That's my neighbor who still doesn't do anything. Look at it. Is that not a difference? I mean, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm trying to encourage you guys to do something similar. Even if it's very small, even if you have a 1/4 acre lot or an acre lot or a 50-acre lot, plant some native plants back. And it will not kill you. These are deer that happen to die around our place. And I love wildlife. This one was hit by a car. And I dragged the body off and let it decompose. And of course, you know, the coyotes, my friend, Wile E. Coyote, I love them. I wish there was a whole pack of them around my place to keep the deer away. Bobcats, fox, everybody down to the ants will eat the body and use it. Vultures, crows, blue jays. And then after about a year, I collect the bones and then rearrange them to look like dinosaurs in the sand. So what you can do, if you have grandkids, is you build you a sandhill. It has to be at least 3 foot high and 6 foot long. You take a bunch of cow bones or deer bones and you mix them all up to make them look like a funky dinosaur. You bury them in the sand so it's a perfect model where you put them in the sand, and then you cast sand over it and pack it down tight, and as it rains, it erodes them out like that. It's really cool. And the kids freak out. They go, oh my God, it's a dinosaur! You know, they get so excited. Mama, come look, come look. And we have the most fun getting families to walk up to the sandhills to see the dinosaurs that have eroded out of the sand. And some of the adults fall for it. It just makes me laugh. Oh my God. This is us. I hope you enjoyed the program. We want you to build a native, your own national park by doing this, no matter how big or small. And we are the only real 99% native plant nursery in the state of Georgia. I looked and looked and looked when I was having to buy from several other nurseries. There's good people to buy from. Woodlanders is a good one. Sunlight Gardens is a good people that'll send you quality plants. And we just got tired of having to buy these plants from these other sources. And so we started growing our own and become the leading source for native plants in the state of Georgia. If you have any questions, we have a booth over here, and I have been given permission to lock the door until all the plants are sold from every vendor, so you can't leave. Thank you so much for letting me share the information and enthusiasm. No, you might go crazy. That's right. No, don't want to do that. What do you do that?